If it doesn't sell, it isn't creative.
From privacy breaches to mental health risks, the dark side of social media is becoming harder to ignore. Media humans. Media humans.
Media humans.
You'd drink too if you had my job.
I've been talking about doing this show for 5 years, something like that.
At least.
I personally feel very grateful that in my life, I've got some of the wisest people around me with a breadth of life experience that I can draw on at any time. What's unique about my circle, though, is I can't think of one human being that I'm close with that didn't learn every single one of their lessons in life the absolute hardest way possible. Check. And I think that's what makes it so much more fun.
Uh-huh.
And so I had to welcome and just thank Alysse Bryson.
And the crowd goes wild.
So I'll set the table a little bit and then we'll just dive right into it. But Alysse when did you start at King Television? We met working at King Television. 2016.
Fall.
Okay. So what's weird is in my memory, you were already there when I got sober.
Oh, interesting.
But that timeline doesn't add up. It's just one of those things. So you came after I was fresh at that point. I was just over a year sober at that point. And I remember Jessica totally outed you. Like your first, she's like, hey, you know that Corky gal? She's sober. And I was like, oh yes, thank God. Because up until that point, I had some sober friends in the building, but they kept relapsing. So I didn't have anybody that was just doing the deal and quite honestly living a life that I really wanted to live professionally. So
and we weren't immediately seated next to each other.
No.
That took a little bit of time.
But once that ice was broken, it was like, okay, I've got a sober person in the building who gets it. You were in your professional life when you decided this booze stuff isn't for me, right?
Yes, I had just started at the Seattle Times.
Okay.
I had just turned 30.
Okay.
And I moved to Seattle for the job because I was working at a small newspaper where I grew up.
Okay.
And I had kind of burned through the bridges. It was time to leave.
Geographical, as they call it?
Geographical. But the problem with that, as you know, is wherever you go, there you are.
Yep.
So I hit my rock bottom at the Seattle Times within the first 6 months of working there. Yeah. Ironically, the month that I checked into rehab, I also was named Salesperson of the Year. Yeah.
Cheers to that. That definitely tracks. So I take it then, were you getting pushback from work that, hey, something needs to change, or was this an internal thing?
No, they hadn't caught on yet. They would have.
Yeah.
They would have. They had not caught on yet. But I was definitely showing up hungover, still drunk, or because being an outside salesperson, I would drive into the city, check in like I was working, and then I would go back home and go back to bed.
Yeah.
And because I could do my job relatively quickly.
Yeah.
And I was specializing in automotive, all the luxury automotive dealers.
Yeah.
So it was...
They don't mind if you've got some alcohol.
They
in
don't
your
mind.
breath.
Yeah, they don't mind. Yeah.
Okay, but I think that's an interesting point there, because I was killing it sales-wise when I had to get sober.
Yeah.
I was killing it. Nobody was. I definitely got some hey, stop being an asshole, stop being an idiot.
Well,
but
you get that now.
I just don't get that now. That has nothing to do with alcohol. But I think that's what people look at and they go, you get that term thrown around a lot. And I think it's a really dangerous term, that functional alcoholism term.
Yeah, because you can justify that, well, it's not that bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, when is it that bad? When you absolutely lose everything? And I knew I was on the tipping point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that rings really true, because I think people we've seen it. Mm-hmm. I think the thing I've never understood, and I don't think I ever will, is just why some people are able to catch it in time and why some people aren't. We've both seen people in our careers, just from a career standpoint, we're not even talking about family or health, physical health, but we've seen people in our careers who can drag along for 20, 30 years.
It's so painful.
But
I get it. I totally get it.
And a lot of times, look, addicts are typically pretty hard-nosed, driven people. Mm-hmm. So
they have to be.
They have to be. Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
They have to be. It's built in. It's it's the two sides of the coin. It's what's going to take them down, but it's also their superpower when not appropriately aligned.
That's a really good point. I've always, I haven't met a lot of like lazy drug addicts or lazy alcoholics.
Nope.
I've met a lot of piece of shit alcoholics.
Yep.
I haven't met any lazy ones. So,
Yep.
so like a lot of times they're the people on your staff. For us, it was a sales arena. So those are the people who are going to be killing it in sales, but they're usually pretty driven in whatever endeavor they're embarking upon.
Yeah.
If they don't trip over their addiction on the way there.
Yeah.
So what was it for you, if you don't mind me asking, and if you don't feel comfortable answering any of these, tell me to bug off. But
I'm really shy.
I know
on the
you're
internet.
very shy
I hardly
about
put
it.
anything out there.
What
So
was-
this is a stretch for me.
Yeah. So, what was that moment for you if it wasn't an external work thing okay, something needs to give here?
I knew I was 6 months into living in a new place, and I had really thought this geographical, clean slate, I would start over and I would start fresh. I would have new job and new outfit and a new place to live and new friends. I just thought it would all be different. The problem with that is I was the problem and I was still there. And so what I started to see is just this inability to keep all the balls in the air, and I knew one was going to drop. Mm-hmm. And I was drinking and driving, and I'm single mom. My son was 9 at the time. And now we were in a city where I didn't have my parents 5 minutes away to come in and rescue all the situations that needed rescuing. And I could just see that it was going to drop, and it was going to drop relatively quickly. And then ironically, I was carpooling with a gal that was in the same department as I was, and we both lived in North Seattle, 45 minutes to an hour each way. And I was not sober, and she was sober. And I just kept telling all these things, and she just kept saying, yeah, I know what that's like, and if you ever want to do something about it, just let me know. I can tell you what I did. And that was it. She never said anything else.
What was your reaction in the moment to that?
Oh, I hated her. I was like, just stop talking and let me talk about myself. And we ended up becoming really good friends and working together for a long time. Shout out to Joanne, saved my life, literally saved my life. But I had this, I didn't like her at first because she had a solution and I didn't want it.
Did you feel like that she could see through you too?
Absolutely, she could.
God, I hated
because
people
I
in
can
recovery.
see people through people now. So
Yes.
you can see it a mile away, and it's so uncomfortable.
Oh, I hated people in recovery.
Oh, the
I was
worst.
just like, don't come near me. I don't want to
worst.
say anything.
The worst.
I can't sell you my bullshit,
Yeah.
can I? Oh,
I'm going to tell you how much I really don't drink, because that's what normal people do.
Yeah, exactly.
So that all happened. So then I had great insurance.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to go to a different couple places. There's got to be a pill I can take or something that can make this better.
Yeah, what'd you try?
Oh, everything. Like every rule, every possible thing, changing my drinks, not drinking before, 8 p.m. Every rule, everything. I tried it all. And I went to a therapist, and they were like, I might do inpatient. And I was like, no, I'm going to go somewhere else. And I just kept going places, trying to find someone to give me an answer that I wanted. And unfortunately, they were all giving me the same answer. And I finally ended up doing an intake. So for whatever reason, I didn't lie. I don't know why. I lied all the time. Yeah, you really need to come inpatient. And I was like, listen, I can't. I am a career gal. I'm a single mom. There is no way I can 28 days Sandra Bullock away for, I can't do it. I can't do it. What
Was
are
that
my
your
other
only frame
options?
of reference at that point?
My only frame of reference. I had already seen 28 Days, I don't know how many times.
Excellent movie.
Such a good movie. I'm waiting for the sequel.
It kept me out of sobriety
Waiting
for another 5 years. But
So I said there has to be another option, and she was like, well, what about? You could just do outpatient, but normally people go to inpatient before they go to outpatient. But you could, and it's 3 days a week, and it's 4 hours an evening, and then you could work and you could do that. And I was like, my son's going to be on summer break. I can send him to my parents, so then I can work during the day. I can treatment at night, and I can see him on the weekends. I'm going to project manage my downfall, right? And so I could start in whatever it was, a month from now. And she was like, okay, well, what are you going to do between now and then to not drink? And I was like, that wasn't part of the plan.
I'm going to be drinking.
I think we're actually going to ratchet up a couple notches. And I was like, and she asked me like very simply, can you control your drinking? And for whatever reason, the way she said it, I was like, I don't think I've ever tried. I'm going to do that. I'm going to try. She said, well, we have a women's group here that meets on Tuesday nights, and you're welcome to come at any time in the next month if you need to. And I was like, thanks. I won't, but thanks. I was there 3 weeks later. Yeah.
Did you stay sober between talking to her and going and starting outpatient?
I didn't at first,
Okay.
but then I did. Like 3 weeks later, I was there.
Okay.
And I had a very powerful experience that night and driving home, a very burning bush experience. And I haven't had a drink or used drugs since that night. I checked into outpatient, though, with almost 30 days. So then the arrogance of being the one with the most sober time in the group was, as you can imagine, next level.
I'm the special one.
I'm the special one. I am so far advanced over all of you. Yeah, no.
No matter who you talk to, when there's that point where they're talking themselves out of getting help or talking themselves out of, it's just, if you worked in my industry, you'd drink as much as I did. I'm not an alcoholic. I just work and what's funny now, I've heard it. I just work in construction. I just work in real estate. I just work in finance. I just work in media. I'm just a lawyer. Like literally every industry says that.
Yeah.
But tell me about going back to a sales role sober.
Brutal. Is brutal. Well, and to be in it, because so much business happened over drinks, over happy hours, over dinners, even boozy lunches. Like that's how business gets sold. And it was that first year was really hard. I didn't want anyone to know. I was terrified of anyone knowing. And it would be years before I would actually publicly tell people in the workplace. I did tell my manager at the time.
What did you do during those boozy lunches? Or did you just not go to them?
No, I went if I absolutely had to. If I could get out of it. My first thing was if I could get out of it, I did. And as a single mom, I was able to play that card. I had that going for me. Or I went for as short as period of time as possible. Or I became the entertainer and made it look, I was telling the jokes, being gregarious, so they thought I was drunk, right? And I've had many people say, are you sure you don't drink? You seem like a drinker.
Have them order their drinks? Because what I noticed is if I ordered a Diet Coke first, then everybody would be like,
oh yeah, that's
why
totally
aren't you
true.
drinking kind of thing.
Yeah, get them to order.
And eventually I just was like, because I'm a fucking alcoholic.
People will, even still, decades later, people will still zone in on your drink. Some people will.
Yeah.
That's still very much a thing.
You know who those people are, right?
We do know who those people are, yeah.
I would hone in on that. Like, wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Okay, so did your client, did the kinds of clients you were working with change eventually, just naturally, or did your approach change?
No, I changed departments. So I ended up getting out of automotive and I moved over to the specialty section that was doing targeted direct mail and inserts.
Okay.
And I was there, and I wasn't there very long until I saw that there was a job posted at Seattle Met Magazine, and magazines had always been a dream of mine. And so I was a little over a year sober when I left the Seattle Times and went over to Seattle Met.
Cool. But you're talking about a sales job in media, which is a stressful job. Then you talk about moving jobs, which is a big, stressful, pivotal point for anybody. And then no matter how much experience and how many clients you have at your old media job, starting a new sales type job anywhere, you're starting from scratch again.
And that was a big thing because I was going from a salary bonus program to a commission only program, which I had, but to that point I had never been on commission only. And as a single mom, I was terrified.
Even still, you're only a year and a half sober
Barely,
at that point. Yeah. So there's a lot of growth that happens in that first year, but you're still a child.
First 5 years. I didn't let people know for a really long time. And there were so many events that we were doing. And so definitely at a certain point internally inside the company, I let people know. And so at all the events, they always made sure to have things for me. And And there was a lot of flexibility there, but I didn't want my clients to know. I just wanted the very few people internally to know that needed to know for accountability reasons.
I had the pleasure of meeting Alysse at King, and we did share a cubicle space. Wasn't like the same cubicle.
Like a pod.
Alysse is very loud, and the story she tells everybody is that I threw a pen at her
You
once.
did throw a pen at me.
It was a toss.
It wasn't. You almost took out my eye.
First of all, you were facing away from me, so
Okay,
that's not
true.
possible.
That's true. No, but I had turned around. Well, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
You did throw a pen at me, though. I did make a bigger deal about it than it really was. It's
In
true.
all fairness,
That's true.
I was trying to close a deal,
Yeah.
and I don't. She just talks loud. I couldn't hear my.
You're also not Mr. Quiet, and so the problem was we would out loud each other.
And I'm also not Mr. Patient either.
No, so we were. In
my recollection, it was like just a lob to get attention. But around the time I met you, or maybe it was shortly after, because we've already established I'm not good at timelines, you started this Sober Curator thing. And it was first a hobby, and it's turned into something much more now. Can you
I started in the
that?
pandemic. Yeah.
Was it? God damn it.
You really do not do well with time. Yes, I did launch it during the pandemic. Like, I'm going to write that book I've always wanted to write. Well, there's not a lot of instant gratification out of writing a book because it takes a long time. I'm still writing the book, to be clear. But I had always had this idea of launching a lifestyle sober brand because at this point, around 2015 or 2016, I started to notice there was a trend with sobriety and recovery on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and TikTok and all the places. And so there was a lot of podcasts and there was a lot of everybody had a book. And when I got sober in 2006, none of that existed. I was on MySpace with Tom, right? So none of that existed. So I've seen it all come online, and I like to consider myself someone who has a good handle on the lifestyle space, given that I've danced around it professionally for 2 decades. And so I was like, where's the authority on the sober lifestyle community and to tell me what are the good books, what are the good podcasts, what's worth my time? Because now there's so much to choose from. How do I know, right? And I couldn't find anything. I would find some magazines, and they would be glossy and even have a celebrity on the cover, but they were direct mail pieces for treatment centers. Yeah. So, and I'm not, as we know, I'm not anti-treatment center, but that doesn't speak to me as someone who at this point was over 10 years sober. Like I was almost 15 years sober.
Yeah.
And so I didn't need to read the articles on how to get sober. I didn't need to read the articles on how to date sober or go to a wedding sober. I've already done that a million times. The dating part has really not worked out well. For the record. But now here I was with time. And so I was like, well, that and a blog, that's quick hit. Like I can post something and get likes within 24 hours. And that was like, that, give it to me. Yeah. Exactly. Give it to me. So we started and there were 4 of us, 3 people in recovery. One gal who I had not met, she was the daughter of a really good friend. And then my sister who is sober adjacent. She's a therapist specializing in addiction. And so the 4 of us started, and 5 years later, there's 38 of us around the world, and it's like a thing.
And a ton of traffic.
Tons of traffic.
And I talk to a lot of people in sobriety who are very aware of the brand as a whole.
Yeah.
And I got to say, when I talk about what I get to learn from you and people like you is that, look, when somebody has to get sober, or even take that, when they have to make a giant change to the core of who they are, a lot of time it's a mourning period of I've got to throw a grenade in my life and kill this person that I was.
Yeah.
And it feels like, especially in early sobriety, of I have to survive sobriety. And somehow, one foot in front of the other, and it's going to just suck, but I have to do it, right?
I'm never going to have fun anymore.
Exactly. And what I love about this brand and the stuff that you're putting out and just who you are is that, no, I get to thrive in sobriety. I get to do all these cool things in my life because I'm sober.
Right.
I had the experience of introducing you to a young woman who's just a year sober, and she was beaming after meeting you. And especially, we met backstage.
We're texting.
We met backstage at the Moore Theater with a bunch of rock stars running around.
Yeah.
And on the drive home, she's like, I didn't know you could do cool stuff sober, and like, it sounds silly now from my vantage point, but I remember definitely thinking that, like, well, I guess it's just Seventh Heaven reruns for me for the rest of my life.
I mean, I knew what I was doing because I'd run a magazine and built websites and built social, but I wasn't the one doing the graphics. I wasn't the one building the website. I wasn't the one doing the SEO. I wasn't doing any of that. And now I'm doing all of it, right? And so that was a big learning curve, but fortunately you can learn basically anything on YouTube, like basically. And then I had a lot of people.
With the tenacity of an alcoholic.
Right, yeah, you learn anything. And I had people like you that I could be like, what do you think about this? And you were a couple times like, I don't know, that makes me uncomfortable, but I really like this. And I had to just take all this feedback and figure it out. And I also was like, I'm not going to promote it. I know what this is, and I think it's cool because I'm building something that I wanted for myself that isn't out there. And the people that get it will get it, and anybody else that doesn't get it, fuck them. Like, I don't care. Like, I don't, like, it's not for you. That's okay.
Yeah.
And that's worked out really well.
You can fly your flag in media, and you've got 8 billion people on planet Earth to choose from. So
I don't need them all.
You don't need most of them.
I don't.
Right? And that's what's really cool is even if you're so, is it niche or niche, by the way? I say niche, but I feel like that's not cool enough.
I say niche.
Okay.
Nietzsche.
No, that's different. but even if it's so niche, that like you'd never be able to do that on a local level in the 90s, right?
No.
But you can now because you have this worldwide audience to pick from.
Well, and what's interesting though is I can obviously go on the back end, and I do because I'm obsessed with the data.
Yeah.
Is to go in and look at who are these people, where are they? But Google can't tell me if they're sober or how long they've been sober.
Yeah.
So I have to ask them. I have to do surveys and ask them and trust, that the answer is the answer.
Yeah. How much of your audience is sober or say they're sober?
Well, 20% actually are family members or friends of people that need or are sober, and that actually surprised me because we weren't. And we really still aren't creating content specifically for them. So I thought that was interesting. The other thing is, at first we skewed way more female, which the space is pretty saturated, female online in sober recovery world. But it evened out over time, and now we're pretty 50-50 because we got a lot more men writing on the site, and we have music coverage and sports coverage and NA beer coverage, and so we evened out the content flow,
Cool.
So that helped. What's always blows my mind though is that the demographic is so much younger than I am.
Yeah, what is that? What is the age?
25 to 35.
Have you gotten any feedback from any of your readers that maybe you didn't know? Or is it pretty much a one-way communication street right now?
It's pretty one way. This is probably about 2 years ago, I had a gal reach out and she wanted to become a contributor. And I actually get that a lot. And then they realize that creating content is work. Like a lot of work.
A lot of work.
It's a lot more work than you think it is.
Yeah.
And they don't end up following through. But she had reached out and she had a year sober and she really, really wanted to write about essential oils. So I was like, great, that sounds fantastic. And she's like, well, this is just so exciting because you're such a big part of my sobriety. And I was like, we just met 5 minutes ago. So
Yeah.
what does that mean to you? And she said, well, before I stopped drinking, I was listening to a podcast and I was listening to it very regularly. And for whatever reason, the episode that you came on, you convinced me I would still have fun sober. And I didn't think I could. And after I listened to your episode, I didn't drink again.
Whoa.
That's what I do it for.
Whoa.
Right?
Even if you had been aiming for that outcome, you couldn't have gotten
No.
it.
And, she only wrote for a couple months.
Yeah.
And then she stopped responding and the Instagram account went away. I have no idea what happened to her. This actually gives me the shivers to talk about. I have no idea what happened to her. But, there was somebody for me at the very beginning, the carpool lady.
Yeah.
that if she hadn't have been there at that very critical time, I wouldn't have heard or seen what I needed to hear and see, right? And I actually don't know where she is now.
Because life happens.
It is what there's the chapters, there's the people that come in and out that stick and some don't. Some come back, whatever. And like, that's so above my pay grade. But so, first and foremost, I do it for the community of the contributors because we're all trying to create content in different ways. And, there's the guy that loves the NA beer. I have one guy that loves to do sober tarot card readings in under a minute every week. And he goes viral, right? Like my week doesn't start until I've watched Daniel's 1 minute video. God bless him. And so, we've got travel, we've got, everything, anything you can put the word sober in front of, we have, right? But we have this group that comes together and we hang out on Zoom once a month and we share ideas and we compliment each other on each other's work and we're trying to make each other better content creators. And the byproduct of that is the audience keeps showing up and the audience keeps growing. And so I don't think about the audience that much because I'm thinking about the content and the other people creating the content. And I just think if we focus on the awesome, the rest takes care of itself.
So that's a really important point because I think every media organization, big and small right now, is obsessed with analytics to an insane degree. And what did you say? Just bring the awesome?
Just focus on the awesome.
Just focus on the awesome. The audience is 8 billion people. You'll find the right people for what you're saying.
And Brian, we don't spend money on advertising. And I know if we ever do, I know what to do. I also know who to call, right?
You know this.
We spend a lot of time on SEO, and about 70% of our traffic comes from SEO. About 10 to 15
and
comes
I'll just say
direct.
it's as I've seen the data, it's real traffic, not the I'm going to buy some bots to impress some advertisers traffic.
And we're on social media because it's a necessary evil, and it's also a way that I can show the contributors that are volunteering. Like I'm giving you an audience that you can see because they, I can show them the analytics of the back end of the site, but they don't, some of them don't even understand it. But they can see that and it helps their brands as well. So we're on social media, but that isn't what drives our traffic. We're there just because we have to be to stay relevant. But what drives the traffic is the people that are on search. And that's who I want anyway, because somebody that's searching for something, they actually have an intent to consume the content.
So this is like something to do sober or driving, driving sober. How do you drive sober?
Driving sober.
Oh my God, I can't believe I said that.
I don't want to ruin it for you, Brian, but you can literally do anything sober.
Whoa.
I know. But the other thing is we started with no email list, and I have an email list of 17,000, which is not huge, but guess what? My open rate is 70%.
Well,
so come at me.
I mean, I would say don't sell yourself short because I think that's a larger email address than most local media organizations have. And I'm guessing that it's all opt-in for a very specific niche. Mm-hmm. I'm going all in on niche. I've been in my head about this for a decade.
Niche.
So, okay, niche. Just niche.
We've named it today.
Yes, niche. But anyway, I mean, and you say 17,000, that's a small stadium full of people. That's a big damn deal.
Yeah. And I now get 3 to 5 requests a day for sponsored content.
Awesome.
And I think I've run 2. I'm in a position where I don't need to monetize it. I know. Sorry.
That's like leaving a beer on the table. What are you doing?
Man, I know. I don't understand a half-drinking cocktail myself either. Yeah.
So again, Alysse, thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for who you are in my life. And just really appreciate you being on here.
You bet, Hurley, anytime.
Just dodge those pens, yo. Thank you.
Media humans.
Media humans.
Media humans.
Media humans.